It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of Thanksgiving weekend 1995, November 24th to be exact. We got 6 movies to look at, some notable films, so let's just get right to it. And we'll start off with, in the words of Johnny Carson, here's a film that needs no introduction, and that is, of course, Disney Pixar's Toy Story.
Sergeant?
Yes, sir.
Establish a recon post downstairs.
Code Red, repeat. We are at Code Red. Recon Plan Charlie. Execute. Move, 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 move. It's a big one.
Walt Disney Pictures presents a totally new animated motion picture event.
Star Command, come in. Do you read me?
The story of 2 toys.
Oh, there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
Headed for a showdown.
My name is Woody. This is my spot.
I am Buzz Lightyear. I come in peace.
You are a child's plaything.
You are a sad, strange little man.
And playing by their own rules.
Draw. Me again. I don't like confrontations. Buzz, look, an alien. Where?
You're mocking me, aren't you?
Oh, impressive wingspan. Very good.
Oh, what? He can't fly.
Yes, I can.
Can't.
Can.
This holiday season, the adventure takes off. When toys come to life.
To infinity and beyond.
Toy Story.
Look out! Can.
Like I said, this is a movie that really does not need an introduction. I think everybody knows what Toy Story is, who's involved with it, why it's considered such a beloved movie, and why it's considered a groundbreaking movie. It's the first animated movie done entirely by computers. It's a film that still holds up to this very day. It was a game changer for what we'd eventually come to as, over 30 years later, we're still getting a ton of these animated movies, these computer animated movies that have just evolved way beyond what the original Toy Story was able to accomplish back then and what was considered so groundbreaking at the time. You look at Toy Story nowadays and you look at the films that we've had now in computer animation form, there's a notable difference, but there is kind of a charm to what the original Toy Story was. It was a movie that was very much it was uncharted territory. Yeah, you could tell that some of the animation is very clunky at times. The humans are clearly not in the best way that we've seen in animated films since then, but like I said, it was uncharted territory. It was something that was so groundbreaking, so unusual, so unique. It makes it stand out on its own. It's amazing how this movie just went through so much production problems behind the scenes to get this just right. I mean, I remember watching the documentary on this, and there was an entirely different Toy Story movie that they made where Woody was a straight-up asshole. I mean, that was pretty much what the concept was. Woody was just a straight-up asshole. Buzz was seen as kind of the hero, but they had to throw half of the movie away because of the fact that test audiences didn't really like it, the studio didn't really like it, so they had to rewrite the film all over again. It went through all this crazy production hullabaloo, and it was done less than a year before the movie actually came out. And a lot of these Pixar movies in the early ages really went through that type of thing, but the results speak for themselves. I mean, Toy Story went on to become a phenomenon. It's become a franchise with 4 movies plus a spin-off and another movie on the way. What more do you really need to say about it? It just shows you that you can make great movies with computer animation, and a good majority of it still holds up to this very day. The story is very pedestrian. It's a story we've seen done over and over again. It's your typical buddy comedy storyline, but they take advantages to make it work and give it a new edge to it that wasn't there before. I mean, it helps that you have Tom Hanks and Tim Allen working off each other so well as Woody and Buzz Lightyear. You got a great cast, and it also includes Don Rickles, Wallace Shawn, John Ratzenberger, Jim Varney, Annie Potts, Arlie Ermey, Laurie Metcalf. I mean, really, there's not much more you could say about this movie that hasn't already been said. Toy Story is just it's a beloved movie, great animation, great cast, a fun story, great characters. It's just a movie that really began what we've come to know from CG animated films today. Like the progression that we've made from that movie to where we are now it's amazing, and it just goes to show you that Pixar really was a game changer and had a good stretch of really solid movies going, starting with this film. And yeah, like I said, not much more I need to say about this one. Toy Story is just a classic film, period. Let's move on to another movie that's not such a classic film. Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes reuniting for the first time since White Man Can't Jump, and that film is, of course, Money Train.
Wesley Snipes on Woody Harrelson. He's a little rebellious.
I ain't gonna hit it. Why not? Because I'm gonna hit it.
Woody Harrelson on Wesley Snipes.
We don't agree on a thing. You gonna blame this on me too?
Oh, this is definitely your fault.
There's no telling what you're gonna get in this picture. But I hope it's cheese.
This Thanksgiving,
What the hell are we gonna do? Go faster.
get on board. The funniest thrill ride of the holiday season. Money Train, rated R, at theaters Wednesday.
Yeah, I think people realize that Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes, they worked together in White Man Can't Jump so well because that was a script that was perfectly tailored for them. Trying to turn them into the next Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy, another 48 Hours, or even in this year we had Bad Boys, was not the way to go with it. I mean, they could have made this work if there was a better script to work with, but this is just a movie that just doesn't work on any level at all. Like, it's trying to way too hard to be a new action comedy, and it doesn't really work because the script just isn't there. The writing is not very good. The direction is not very good either. This is directed by the same man that did Sleeping with the Enemy, The Good Son, and it just doesn't work here. It just doesn't work because the material given to them just doesn't work, and the connection doesn't work as strongly, and the jokes don't work as well. These guys clearly are not... They could make this possibly work, again, with a better script, but it just doesn't work here. It's not really all that clever. It's not really all that interesting of a movie. And really, the best thing that honestly came out of this movie was Jennifer Lopez. I mean, this is a movie that kind of started her film career and showed people that, hey, she can actually keep up with these guys. She actually has a lot of the really good moments in the movie. She actually shows that she could be a capable actress that she would later show on in the rest of the 90s. But as far as the rest of the film itself goes, it's just a mess of a film. It's a film that had so much promise to it because of what these two guys did in White Man Can't Jump, but it just goes to show you, if you don't have something on the same caliber of a writing level or a directorial level, you can't really make this kind of thing work, unfortunately. It's just a movie that just had so much potential, and it just didn't live up to it. It's a shame, because these guys were great in White Man Can't Jump, but here, not so much. So, that's Money Train. Let's move on to the next movie, and that is Martin Scorsese's Casino.
Handicapper. I had it down so good that I ran one of the biggest casinos in Las Vegas for 10 years.
They had it all. They ran the show. And it was paradise while it lasted. Robert De Niro, Sharon Stone, Joe Pesci, a Martin Scorsese picture.
You realize what you can do? You can get us all killed?
Casino, rated R. Starts Wednesday at theaters everywhere.
Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, Scorsese. You got Nick Pileggi again writing the script after these guys worked on Goodfellas together. A lot of high expectations for this movie, and for the most part, it did deliver. It's a strongly made film. It's a very long film, but it's a really good movie. Robert De Niro is very good in here, so is Joe Pesci. I mean, Sharon Stone really stole the movie. She had maybe the best performance in the film. It got her an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress, rightfully deserved. And it's a really enjoyable film. It's a very solid film, over 3 hours long, but your attention keeps your attention going throughout the course of the movie. Is it as good as Goodfellas? I won't go that far. Goodfellas, I think, is the strongest film that these guys have worked on, and it's just a film. It's one of Scorsese's best movies for a number of reasons, but this is still a very good film. Kind of an underrated film from Scorsese, because I don't think it gets as much of attention as the other movies that Scorsese and De Niro have worked on. I mean, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, this Goodfellas, just Cape Fear. Those are so much better movies, and while this one doesn't live up to the same caliber, it's still a pretty damn good movie. It's still a very quotable film, visually pleasing to look at, well written, just an amazing, amazing film, a very enjoyable film indeed. I really enjoyed it a lot. I won't go as far as to say it's overrated. I take that back. I think it is beloved by Scorsese people, but I think they can say that this is not up to the same levels as some of the best works that these two guys have done. I mean, this is still a really good movie overall, and I can't recommend it enough. Casino, if you haven't seen it already, check it out. especially if you like seeing what De Niro and Scorsese can do together. So let's move on to the next movie, I should say. We're not even done yet, but the next movie that we have here, and that is Johnny Depp starring in the action thriller Nick of Time.
For your daughter, 24 hours from now. You listening, Mr. Watson? Danger unfolds.
My daughter's been kidnapped. Something's gonna happen if I don't kill the governor.
Time to waste. The suspense builds.
Gonna be a hero, Daddy.
The real terror begins.
I don't think we should go through with this.
Wednesday, November 22nd. I've been watching.
What are you gonna do?
Johnny Depp.
I'm gonna do whatever I have to.
Nick of Time. Rated R. Tomorrow at theaters everywhere.
Another intriguing concept, making a thriller that's basically set in real time, kind of a precursor to what we see in something like 24, which made that formula work a lot better. But it doesn't really work if the script is not really all that clever or really that interesting, and it's really not on either side. I mean, Christopher Walken could have had a good time playing a villain in this, but he's kind of phoning it in. It's one of those movies where he just takes the check and just goes off on his own. And for Johnny Depp, somebody of his caliber, I think he should have done a whole lot better than this. Not to say that he was bad in the movie. I did like some of the things that he was able to do. I mean, he wasn't just the typical action hero. He did actually use his smarts to actually try to get through some of the situations in this movie. But the stories itself it just wasn't written well. And these people, this is a good director too, John Badham, who was kind of at the twilight of his career. I mean, after this, he'd only direct one other movie for theaters, and then he'd eventually go on to just working on television films up until his death. Actually, is he still alive? Yeah, he's still alive. I'm sorry, John Badham. I'm sorry if I said you were. I'm sorry that I said you were dead. I'm sorry about that, but you get kind of the idea. This was kind of the end of the time when a John Badham movie was actually pretty exciting, because he had made some movies that were not as good as some of his early works. After The Hard Way, like Point of No Return, Another Stakeout, Drop Zone, Incognito, his career really took a nosedive, and he kind of just stepped over into television, where I think he had some more success there, but the problem is the movie, I think, has a lot of good ideas. I think the movie does have a lot of interesting concepts, and just the writing just isn't there. This writer is not really putting enough effort into making this a solid story that could make sense. This writer is Patrick Sheehan Duncan. Yeah, Patrick Sheehan Duncan, and he hasn't really written a lot of good stuff in his career. He wrote looking at some of the movies that he wrote here. He wrote A Home of Our Own. He wrote Courage Under Fire. Mr. Holland's Opus I thought was okay, but other than that, it's largely forgettable movies, and this is a largely forgettable film. It's an interesting idea. I also don't like that some of the characters here don't act the way they're supposed to act in this situation. Like the kid in this movie is way too calm about this whole situation. She's being kidnapped, and she's just like, "No, it's cool, man. It's cool. My dad's gonna be a hero." It's just kind of like, oh, you should be a little bit more worried here, kid. I mean, that's just my thinking on it. But the movie overall, it's largely forgettable. These guys have been in better movies than this. Johnny Depp and Christopher Walken. John Badham has made better movies than this. This is a forgettable movie, man. This is a film that's it just doesn't work on any level whatsoever. It's a film that's really disappointing on so many levels. That's Nick of Time. So let's move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Frankie Starlight.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Beautiful. Excuse me.
1 minute, sir.
Get them off, you know.
Who may I ask is he?
Fun fact, I thought I grabbed the wrong movie. You see, in that scene there, Colin Farrell, I'm looking at his credits on the credit for this movie on the Wikipedia page, and Colin Farrell's name's not on there. You do see Gabriel Byrne, Ann Perillo, Matt Dillon. I'm guessing that was one of his early movies that he was in, and he's uncredited, but that's from that movie, Frankie Starlight. And honestly, I really don't know too much about this movie overall. Like, I never knew about this movie. Basically, it follows a writer with dwarfism sharing the story of his unconventional, though not altogether bad, upbringing as his mother struggles to raise him in the mid-20th century with the help of a surrogate father. And that's really only one of the few clips I could find of that movie. And I don't know. I mean, I don't really know if it's good or not. Like I said, I haven't seen it, so I can't really say too much about it. But I mean, it's got a good cast that could make it work. But I didn't see a whole lot there that made me want to see it. I mean, honestly, it could be good, but no real interest in seeing it right now. I just know that it came out this weekend. Might as well bring it up. So that is Frankie Starlight. Let's move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is 2 Bits.
When the country was young and life was tough,
You hear there's a depression on?
Aw, Ma, I know you got a dime hit someplace.
a boy had few places to turn.
Wanna go down to church?
I wish I could go to movies.
25 cents all day till 6.
But Gennaro could always turn to his grandfather.
It don't seem right.
What don't?
That you should die just so I can go to the movies.
He shared his wisdom.
If a man is a virgin on his wedding night, he's gonna be a virgin the rest of his life.
I didn't know men can be virgins.
He opened his heart.
You won't do me one little favor.
Says who?
You gonna do it?
Sure, but what?
It's the one sin I committed in my life. I couldn't forget the next day.
Here's another movie that I got confused on the title because there was actually another movie called 2 Bits that was released in 1995. It was a film called 2 Bits and Pepper with Joe Piscopo, and this is not the movie that I was thinking of. This is a different movie altogether. This is a movie that is directed by James Foley, who done Glengarry Glen Ross, and this is stars, you see Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio and Al Pacino, basically taking place in 1933 in South Philadelphia, where a 12-year-old kid lives with his widowed mother and his ailing grandfather, the grandfather played by Al Pacino. He sits outside holding tight to his last quarter. He has promised the quarter to Gennaro so that the boy can buy a ticket to a plush new movie theater, but Grandpa is not ready to pass on the quarter or pass on to his final reward. He has some unfinished business with a woman from his past, and he enlists his son, this kid, to act as his emissary. I think I'm pronouncing that right, so... you could probably tell I haven't seen this movie, and I really did not know anything about it until I saw that trailer, but, it has kind of a feel of Cinema Paradiso, that movie that came out early in the 90s, which I really like. This feels like a different version of that, but, I really can't go into too much with it because I haven't seen the film, so I really do not know too much about it, but the casting definitely has my interest. It's very interesting to see Al Pacino in a role like this, so, I mean, maybe it could work, maybe it doesn't work, who knows, but, I'd probably watch it at some point. I'm not going to watch it soon, but it definitely has my interest, so, like I said, not too much there on that last one, 2 Bits. And with that said, that wraps up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll finally head into the last month of 1995 next week, starting in December with 3 movies, including John Travolta and Harry Belafonte in White Man's Burden. We also have Wild Bill, and also Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead. So 3 movies to look at next time, and we'll delve into those on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I will see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching, I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.